Good evening, New Sam. Tonight, in her business dungeon here in New Sam, we find Bianca Cassidy, Prodom, Mistress. She sits on the throne in her dungeon. Her ghoul, Miranda, a beautiful blonde woman. She sits there, corset, tight, black leather pants. She watches it. She looks down at her hands, the jeweled, black anodized metal claws on her left hand, as her ghoul brings in the first client of the night. He could be a regular, he may not be. She's already got the hood on him. Good girl. Now disrobe him. And her ghoul begins to undress the man, who's essentially blindfolded and gagged as this leather hood encases his entire head. The only thing it allows for is breathing through his nose. She strips him down, keeping her hand on him so that he doesn't fall when she takes his socks and shoes, pants, underwear. Wonderful, my dear. Do you have the arm binders? Miranda, knowing that this is about Bianca, nods and brings them up to her. Bianca takes them and walks over to the gentleman, running the tips of the claws along his chest. She can see a trail of goosebumps rise in their wake as she lightly drags them along. Arms behind your back, my dear. And he does so. She pulls the arm binders up, begins tightening the laces with the hand without the claws, until his arms are firmly secured behind his back. Now, my dear, I know with the gagging you're going to have difficulty speaking, so we'll stick with simple nods, yes and no. Do you understand? He nods his head, yes. Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. Now, my dear, you are aware that this is going to hurt. You signed your waivers, correct? He again nods. Excellent. I'm so glad to hear it. And with that, she digs the claws into his chest. Much harder this time. Yes, we shall have quite a bit of fun. She doesn't break skin. That would damage her toy. She rakes one of the sharp talons across his nipple, and she can hear him let out a small whimper. Seems somebody likes that. She reaches down, encasing his testicles in the claws, and begins to squeeze. She can see his knees quivering as his body jerks, his flaccid penis quickly becoming erect. I didn't say you could do that yet. She pulls the crop out of her boot and slaps it on his penis. He lets out a yelp through the gag and a slight jump, which tugs against her hand, which has his balls firmly gripped. Now, my dear, careful, you might hurt yourself. And he gives a very vigorous, short nod. And she pulls down, guiding him to a kneeling position. Now, my dear, shall I whip you on the front or on your backside? Nod yes for front, no for get back. He shakes his head no. Says, very well, and she looks over to Miranda. Bring out something that he might lay on. She brings out a low bench and helps guide the gentleman onto it. the slant of it putting his ass very high into the air. Excellent, my dear. Now see, this isn't so bad now, is it? She goes to the wall, retrieving 2 of her 6-foot whips. She lets one crack. She can see his body jump. Seeing that always makes me happy. You know what's coming now, don't you? She can see his head nod up and down. Excellent, my dear. Miranda, sit to the front and make sure that if there's a problem, shake your head vigorously no, so that she can signal me. He gives a nod, yes. And with that, the first light whip slings across his backside. She watches for him to jump, pleased with herself. You deserve this, don't you, dear? She sees him nod again. One whip and then the other whip on him, and he jumps again. Remember, these are whips, so you need to hold still. And he does another quick little nod. She can see a few red marks rising on his backside already. This is going to be so much fun. She begins a slow Florentine pattern with the whips, one, then the other. 4 strikes per rotation. Quickly, each buttocks begins to show stripes of red across it, as he occasionally squirms when she pauses to admire her handiwork, caressing it with her talons. Yes, I think you like this. She can tell from his erection, pressed hard against the bench. Well, my dear, I think it's time to go to the next step. She hangs the whips on the wall. Canes or paddles? I can never decide. What do you think, Miranda? Miranda gets a gleam in her eyes. She loves watching Bianca being sadistic, and she looks towards the canes. Excellent choice, my dear. She walks over, taking one of the aluminum canes, and gives him one. Well, to her it seems like a light tap, but he lets out a slight yelp as he squirms. Yes. She begins doing that light tap over and over, eventually building up to firmer and firmer taps as he gets accustomed to it. His backside now riddled with red marks, welts, even bruising starting to rise. This is wonderful, my dear. And she stops, taking the cane, grabbing the 2 whips, holding them out towards Miranda. Go and clean these, my dear. Miranda nods, happily takes them to the other room to clean them. And with that, Bianca then sits him up on the bench, coming in behind him. And now for my favorite part. She sniffs him, the smell of cologne. Oh, it's almost nauseating sometimes. She digs her claws into his abdomen. She can hear him whimpering again at the pain as she then sinks her teeth in. She's not being gentle about it. She knows he'll never even know what happened afterwards. He just thinks he'll have enjoyed himself. And she takes her fill for the moment, licking the wound closed, pushes him back down to lay on his own cum. It happens every time with these bastards. A few minutes later, Miranda comes in, returning the implements to their locations. Do we only have the one tonight, my dear? Yes, Miss Bianca. Excellent. When he's done, go ahead and unbind. Actually, go ahead and unbind him now. When he's done resting, make sure that he gets dressed and leaves. Have him lick up his mess before so. And then clean it up, my dear. Done silently. Yes, Miss Bianca. Of course, she says with a smile, always happy to do anything that Bianca wants. Bianca heads out into the other room, looks at her phone, see if she's missed any calls. No. She dials a number she's gotten used to staring at, even though she hasn't called it, except the one night. She leaves a message. Yes, my dear. I have an opening for this weekend if you're interested in a session. I look forward to seeing you then. If that's amenable, let me know. And with that, Bianca hangs up. Message now left on Isabel's answering machine. Yes, I have missed her. And she can handle so much more. She glances back through the doorway at the man now licking up his own cum in her dungeon. And with that, this scene will end.